1 day away from Friday, 5 days away from April. Welcome to this March 27th edition of CNN Student News. I'm Carl Azus, working in Atlanta. The U.S. president is working in Europe. Yesterday, President Obama met with European leaders in Brussels, Belgium, one of the stops on his week-long trip through Europe and the Middle East. Ukraine and Russia dominated the discussion. The president and several European leaders don't like the fact that Russia recently annexed Crimea, a former part of Ukraine. That happened after Crimeans voted to become part of Russia. The U.S. supports Ukraine's new government, opposes Russia's move to annex Crimea, and warns Russia not to annex any more of any other country. From Brussels, President Obama is headed to Rome. The leader of the U.S. will meet with the leader of the Roman Catholic Church, the largest denomination of Christianity.
For more than 200 years, the politician behind the desk in the Oval Office and the bishop seated on the throne of Peter have marked history together. On Thursday, President Obama and Pope Francis will open a new chapter at the Vatican. In 2009, President Obama brought his family to the Vatican for his meeting with Pope Benedict.
Sasha was still pretty young at the time. You know, they see the Sistine Chapel, and they're going through these various chambers, and each time, you know, she'd see somebody dressed up in the cloth, and she'd say, "Is that the Pope? Is that the Pope? How about that guy over there?" They said, no, you'll know when it is finally the Pope.
Joshua Dubois was President Obama's director of faith-based and neighborhood partnerships during his first term.
So you think there's a little shift going on from the relationship with the former Pope and the current Pope?
Well, I think they have a deep mutual concern for issues related to the poor, economic inequality, and making sure that people can live lives of dignity.
But there are differences, and there are sensitive issues in which these two men will disagree.
President Obama is pro-choice. Pope Francis is pro-life. President Obama supports marriage equality. Pope Francis does not. However, these are the type of men who are not going to let disagreement on two issues, even those two very important issues, prevent them from collaborating on many other things, including addressing economic inequality in the United States and around the world.
The meeting also takes place while Catholic groups in the United States are fighting the administration in court over the contraceptive mandate in the Affordable Care Act. They say it violates their faith.
Pope Francis is a very, very clever man. He's pretty good at dealing with politicians. There are very, very big differences between the Obama administration's secularism and where the Pope is. But my guess is they'll have a positive, friendly meeting. This is a Pope who tends to want to love you and witness to you, not yell at you.
Like the history of meetings before between popes and presidents, there will be no shortage of topics when the doors close on their private meeting.
Next up, the best leads so far in the search for a passenger plane that vanished on March 8th. A satellite picked up 122 objects floating in the southern Indian Ocean. They could be debris from Malaysia Airlines Flight 370. They were scattered over an area the size of Denver, Colorado, but the images were from Sunday, and when planes searched this area yesterday, they found nothing. Could the debris have drifted? Likely. One main search area is in the roaring 40s. Between latitudes of 40 and 50 degrees in the southern hemisphere, there are gale force winds year-round. And in this part of the Indian Ocean, there's no land to block those winds. Imagine searching in this. If something is located and searchers think they're close to underwater wreckage, they have a unique tool to help find it.
Well, this device dives into the ocean several miles and it creates a map of the ocean floor. It's called an AUV, an autonomous underwater vehicle, and it uses side scan sonar, you can see it right here, to create that picture. It's also equipped with a GPS system. You can see it right over here, and of course that lets the crew know where this probe is at any point in time. Now let's go ahead and start launching. In the case of MH370, what a probe like this would be able to do is it would be able to narrow the debris field. It would help narrow the search, which of course is one of the daunting tasks that we've been talking about in the Indian Ocean. So what we're seeing here is this probe is going to go into the water. Now, for demonstration purposes, it's tethered. That would not be the case, of course, in the Indian Ocean. It would be untethered. It would go several miles deep into the ocean, and then it would start creating this picture of the ocean floor. Now, once this launches onto the water, you're going to see it kind of floats. It's buoyant. But again, it goes deep into the ocean. Now, in a control room, there are crew who would be programming the mission for this device. In the case of MH370, a piece of equipment like this would scour the ocean floor looking for any oddities, looking for anything that looks like a debris field, anything that looks like the wreckage of MH370.
Football players at Northwestern University are a step closer to forming a union. Yesterday we told you why they wanted to unionize. Yesterday afternoon, the Regional National Labor Relations Board in Chicago ruled that they could. The board decided that the players are like employees, saying they get scholarships, work a certain number of hours per week, and generate money for their schools. The school says they're students, not workers, and that it will appeal this decision. If it's upheld, it could change how college sports are governed or lead some schools like Northwestern to scale back their sports programs.
See if you can ID me. I'm part of the U.S. Department of the Interior. In 1940, I was a combination of the Bureau of Fisheries and the Bureau of Biological Survey. My mission is to conserve and protect America's wildlife, plants, and fish. I'm the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, and I do everything from enforce wildlife laws to restore fisheries.
U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service is trying to protect and lend a helping fin to salmon in California. Parts of the state have been parched by extreme drought, and with water levels low, the fish have slimmer chances of surviving their annual migration up the Sacramento River. The trucking project you're about to see costs $500,000, and it comes with a bit of risk. The salmon might not know where to swim back to when it's their turn to spawn.
In the quiet of the morning, more than 400,000 3- to 4-month-old Chinook salmon are loaded into 3 tanker trucks, embarking on a 4-hour journey. You can see their small silver bodies make their way through the clear tubes. Here's project manager Scott Hamelberg.
We're just getting them closer to the ocean for their release.
It's a 300-mile trip. The young fish hauled from the fish hatchery in Anderson to the West Delta in Rio Vista, a route they usually swim. But this year things are different. It's no secret California's scathing drought conditions have created low water levels, a situation the Department of Fish and Wildlife believes could be detrimental to the millions of migrating salmon at the mercy of predators. So they're getting a ride.
In hopes that they'll survive better, contribute to the ocean fishery better in 3 years, as opposed to having poor survival had we released them on station.
And eventually contribute to the large, lucrative California salmon industry. Tuesday's fish haul is part of a much larger state and federal effort, transferring millions of salmon downriver over the course of 2 months.
There's 12 million that'll come from our facility, and then an additional 18 million that'll come from 4 other state facilities.
A process the U.S. Department of Fish and Wildlife believes is crucial.
We do what we need to do to get the job done.
Call it the Great Lakes State, the Wolverine State. On today's roll call, it's the Bearcat State. Talking about Michigan. That's where the Bearcats from Battle Creek are watching at Battle Creek Central High School. Over to Ohio now, in the city of Ashtabula, right on Lake Erie, it's great to see the Warriors of Edgewood High School. And on Florida's fantastic Gulf Coast in the city of Sarasota, we're happy to have the Barracudas of Brookside Middle School. What's the record for Girl Scout cookie sales? If you think you know it, scout it out. Okay, we'll tell you. It's 18,107 boxes, and this girl did it. A 6th grader from Oklahoma City who says she wants to break the 20,000 mark by the end of the month. She says selling cookies is fun and has 3 ingredients: time, commitment, and asking everyone she sees if they want to buy cookies. Her family has an SUV that can hold loads of them, and if they run out, they can just fill it up with Samoa. Her mom's the driver, she tags along, and while all those sales mean no shortbread, they also bring lots of smiles and delights to buyers. These puns are getting pretty thin. I'm having trouble minting new ones. I guess that's just the way the cookie crumbles. Thanks a lot for watching. I could say thank you, Barry Munch, and we'll scout out more for you tomorrow.